So I had a question I wanted to ask real quick in this video because I've seen people talking about resumes and sales lately and things that pertain to how they try to figure out how good a boxer is compared to another guy. So even though I know that Canelo fought Bivol and all these other guys recently, I just wanted to figure out in this video who's had the the last five fights, who's had a better competition as far as their last five fights. And I think Canelo fought Bivol 5 fights ago, or probably more. He probably had more fights since then. I know Bivol's had 5 fights recently. So we're going to go down this list real quick, and we're going to go off these names of the last 5 guys that Bivol and Canelo have fought. I just want to go over this to kind of make an example of some things. But Canelo's last fight was Edgar Berlanga, who's never been a champion. He's been in the same weight class since he started his career. He's had 22. He got 22 wins, 1 loss. And we have Munguia next, who's not a champion at 168. He got knocked down by Canelo as well in that fight. Went 12 rounds. So we have Munguia and Berlanga, no champion at 168. They haven't been champions at 168, but somehow they got that fight and they're in the position they are now. Jermell Charlo, a 154-pounder. He's a 154-pounder. A 154, who I don't even think can beat Terrence Crawford. He's a 154-pounder until he beats someone like Terrence Crawford. I don't even know why people didn't say, hey, why don't Charlo just fight Crawford? If Crawford can get past Canelo, if Crawford can get past Charlo, then he should get the Canelo fight since Charlo got the fight. But that doesn't make any sense to most people, so that's a dead-end conversation. So he has Charlo, 154. You have John Ryder, who just retired 1 fight later after Canelo and before Canelo and Munguia fight. After Munguia and John Ryder fought, John Ryder retired. So that's a guy that retired. Triple G, I think he fought Canelo at 40 years old. That was the other fight. So that's the last 5 fights. Triple G, John Ryder, Charlo, Munguia, and Berlanga. Triple G at 40, retired after he fought Canelo. He said he's not retired, but he hasn't fought since then, so that's retired to me. John Ryder retired after the Munguia fight, which was next after Canelo fight. Charlo hasn't fought since Canelo fight, which was a year ago. So it's been almost 60 weeks since Charlo fought. So by the time Charlo get in the ring again, he's going to be gone 60 plus weeks. Jaime Munguia, I mean, he's doing some stuff at 168, but he's not really, I wouldn't say it's not a lot of hype around him right now after the Canelo loss. I think it's more hype over Berlanga than him, but if you look at the scorecards, Munguia did better on the scorecards than Berlanga did. So that shows you right there what kind of fight that was. But now we're going to go to Dmitry Bivol's resume. I wanted to go over Bivol's resume next. So I'm going to go ahead and skip to that one. We got Dmitry Bivol. So let's go ahead and go through his resume. For Artur Beterbiev, better than everybody on Canelo's last 5 that he fought. He fought Malik Zanad, who was a top contender at that weight class, undefeated. Wasn't a really highly talented fighter, but I will say this, the top competition that's in like Australia and other places, he's beat those guys. So that explains everything right there. Lyndon Archer, he's a guy that beat Anthony Yard. I think Anthony Yard only has 3 losses. Kovalev, Beterbiev, and Lyndon Arthur. So that shows you how good Lyndon Arthur was, or how good he is. And Lyndon Arthur was able to survive 12 rounds with with Dmitry Bivol, and people thought Dmitry Bivol was gonna knock out Bitterbill. So for Lyndon Arthur, the last 12 rounds, that show you how good he is. Dmitry Bivol also fought Zurdo Gilberto Ramirez. This win right here is bigger than the last 5 people Canelo's fought because Zurdo Ramirez right now is a cruiserweight champion. I think his second fight at his first fight at cruiserweight with Joe Smith Jr., who he beat. Then he went on next to beat Galamarian for the cruiserweight belt. Now he's going to unify cruiserweight for a fight for another belt against Chris Billiam Smith. So this is a huge name on your resume. You're talking about a guy who might be undisputed has a chance to be undisputed at cruiserweight, and Gilberto Ramirez. Very tough fighter. I think he's gonna have a chance to unify. I think he really is gonna unify. That's what I think he's gonna do. And then you have Saul Canelo Alvarez. That's the 5th person that Bivol has fought. So in your last 5 fights, who are you going with? A guy who has Canelo, Zurdo Ramirez, who's the champion at cruiserweight right now, Lyndon Arthur, who's had big wins, defeated Anthony Yard, went 12 rounds with Bivol, Malik Zanad, who's a top contender at that weight class, Artur Bitterbill, who's possibly one of the best fighters of this era, if not the best fighter of this era, and what are we comparing that with? Berlanga, Munguia, Charlo, John Ryder, and Golovkin. And you got to notice, most of the guys I named on Bivol's resume is active or they fighting for belts. And they moved up. So Zurdo moved up. Lyndon Arthur still fighting tough fights. The guy he just went 12 rounds with almost stopped Ben Whitaker. Leon Cameron almost stopped Ben Whitaker. He was going to stop him. So that shows you how good Lyndon Arthur is to go 12 rounds with him. And for him to go 12 rounds with Dmitry Bivol. So for a lot of people that's thinking about certain things when they're talking about fighters, well, this fighter deserves this, and I think this guy. And let's pump the brakes on a few things. If you guys think Dmitry Bivol is as good as he says he is, as good as all the fans are saying, a lot of fans say they think he won the fight against Canelo. Well, look at this resume. Can we talk about how people been overlooking that resume and the people he's been fighting, and how he hasn't been getting that credit? He needs to get the credit that he deserves. And it shows that he's fighting better competition than Canelo is. So all this stuff about people saying that this person gonna get knocked down, all that, a lot of these guys are battle tested. And he's fought better guys since he fought Canelo. You would have thought he would have milked it. He would have been like, nah, I'm not gonna fight Zurdo Ramirez 6 months after I fought Canelo. Why would I fight a guy in my own weight class? I could just go to 68 again. Or I could just fight at 68. This dude went up and fought Zurdo Ramirez right after he fought Canelo Alvarez. And people thought he was going to lose the Zurdo fight. And he didn't get credit after the Zurdo fight. You would have thought he would have got a lot more credit for beating Zurdo and Canelo back-to-back. Didn't happen. But yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about. The resumes, just who do you think has a better resume the last 5 fights? And this is a guy who's coming off a loss. That recently just lost. Everybody think he won. So that helps his case even more.